Hello, Michigan. This is Irvin Magic Johnson. Please bring out your nice classic cars, trucks, and hot rods and join me on August 24th for the Ingham, Eaton, Clinton Counties Partnership for the Irvin Johnson Sr. Community Car and Truck Show. Come and enjoy a great time while also raising money for the Santa First Responders and Michigan Concerns of Police. I look forward to seeing you there. For more information, go to www.umbclansing.org or call 517-485-7705.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk we deal with political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now joining me tonight,
Paget Maynard.
Pastor Kenny Craig.
Okay, man, we got a lot to talk about. Let's let you just give a little sketch of why you come to Lansing.
Okay, so I'm a native of Tennessee, and last year I answered the call to come and to pastor the Union Missionary Baptist Church right here in the city of Lansing. And I've been here for just a little over a year, and really getting acclimated to the city and to the culture here, which coming from South is a little different, right? And so really just getting acclimated and getting invested into the community through the church, and so that's why we're here. So
what do you think of Lansing?
Well, I survived my first winter. I got that under my belt. I love the summers here. I'm often tickled when I hear people say, "Oh my God, it's so hot," and it's like 84 degrees. I'm like, "This is nice. This ain't hot." But then the winter is a different
story.
Different story. Right?
But you know, here it's been really different from what it was like 14, 15 years ago in the wintertime. We had to, the last 3 or 4 years we've had, we consider mild winters, you know, because 14, 15 years ago, from November, December, January, February, and March, man, it would be cold, real cold.
Let me just say, I've heard several people say, when I'm complaining about the snow, I said, because when in Tennessee, snow means different things.
Yeah.
So it means rest, pause, stop. It means on the couch watching cartoons in your PJs, right? You get a day or two off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The town stops, and I'm talking 3-4 inches of snow. The bread, milk, and eggs are gone. And so when I'm sharing these stories with people here in Michigan, they say the same thing that you said. This is a mild one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my reply has always been, well, this is mild. I do not want to know regular.
This is when you could be thankful for global warming.
Yeah. So you've got y'all got a adventure coming up, show and different things coming up Friday or Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is it about?
So after getting here last year, so I'm a retired law enforcement officer for with over 20 years. After meeting the mayor and the former chief of police, having several conversations, we had conversations around policing and particularly in communities of color. And they've shared with me a little bit of history of what has happened here over the years. And so we had some conversations, you know, how could we really partner to try to bring community and police together to try to mitigate some of the not so good things that that has happened, and to try to restore some trust and some try to restore some connection with community, so that we can kind of repair some of the right. And so the former chief mentioned to me about a Blue and Faith initiative, and you can go to blueandfaith.org and it's there. And so after praying about it and really looking at the way it is set in the Blue and Faith initiative, I decided I would try to help mitigate some of that energy in the community. And so after meeting with some of the members of church and just having the conversations about how can we do that, what would that look like? And one of the things we determined that was a commonality was everybody likes cars, right?
We make them here.
And so old cars, vintage cars. So let's do a car show and try to have a community and law enforcement car show. And then one of the members says, well, Irvin Johnson Sr. was a member here, and he had a love for old cars and had some old cars, right? And was big on the circuit, was very known around amongst the car show people, right? And said, that would be a great draw because that's what he was, and that's what he loved to do. And so, and he was a member of Union, and so we said, well, let's do it in honor of Irvin Johnson Sr.
Okay.
And so. One of the guys who was helping us put this together, his name is James Stokes. Colonel Stokes says, well, let me reach out to Magic. They were good friends. And let's get permission to make sure that they're going to be okay with it. Let's don't slap nobody's name on this.
Right, yeah.
And so after a few conversations with Magic, he was like, absolutely, Dad would love this. This would be right up his alley. And so that's how we got this going. And so this Saturday at the church, and the address is 500 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
All right.
In the Big Y, they're just a few miles up from the Capitol. But anyway, from 9 to 3, we'll have law enforcement on hand, community on hand, vendors will be on hand with things for the kids. There will be giveaways every half hour. We'll be giving something away.
Okay.
There will be food and games. I mean, it's really designed to really bridge and bring community together around the commonality of cars. And the police and the law enforcement community will be there to engage with local community. And so we can have a day that we're together and there's no expectations of nothing bad happening or those kinds of things. So, I mean, we're just really excited about that. Magic will be in town. He has agreed to come and show support. In fact, he will probably be doing some interviews there with the local media. So we're looking for a big day.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
That should really be big because, as you know now, I look around the country, different places, and right now things are pretty bad with blacks and policemen. Almost every week or every couple of weeks, some police shot somebody. Right now, there's a lady was shot in what state?
With the water, she had the boiling water.
Yes, and we having all these kind of things to happen, and somebody said, I was reading papers and all this, but somebody was saying, well, after the George Floyd, they thought things would get better, but it seemed like it got worse, So I think this would be really good for people to kind of, talk to the policemen a little bit, try to break the whatever it is that.
Well, unfortunately, these things are still happening, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I wanted to have when we had conversations with the chief of police is we always wanted to be able to have the opportunity to speak truth with power, right?
Yeah.
And in cases where police get it wrong, we have to say that.
Yes.
And then in those spaces where they didn't, we have to say that as well.
That's great.
And so in this instance, this is, Stevie Wonder can see this is not good. What has happened there?
Right.
But unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, that department acted quickly. They arrested the guy, locked him up, and charged him with murder. And we'll see how the court system plays out. But all too often, that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
No.
But in this case, they did. But as a retired law enforcement officer who is a black man and who has had to walk that fine line between community and policing, between black and policing, and it can be a slippery slope, right?
Oh yeah.
There have been times when I've had to make decisions and had to arrest a brother.
Yeah.
And I became,
Yeah.
Scum is good actually. Because that's the best part of the soil.
Yeah.
And so I truly understand the complexity here that happens between police and community, particularly when it's officers of color who are having to deal with our black and brown communities.
Yeah.
But when these things happen, we have to call it for what it is. And when the officer is wrong, you just have to say he's wrong. And to your point, it still happens. And so this effort is to try to mitigate some of that because all police aren't bad.
No.
Most of them are good.
That's exactly right. As it is with every profession.
Yes.
And if I may pause and just swap professions, and let's talk about doctors. We just had this doctor who they charged 5 doctors for killing that famous actor.
Murray.
I can't think of his name, but you know Matthew, right? 5 doctors who decided they would just make some money on the side and do some and sell some drugs. And now we have physicians who are becoming drug dealers.
Yes.
But the entire profession is not bad, but you have these pockets of individuals who give the rest of bad names. And unfortunately for law enforcement, we're now in a time where people are empowered with phone cameras now. So you have you police now, but you have to be careful because you never know who's recording you. And to me, that's a good thing.
It's good.
That's a good thing.
And he's supposed to have his on.
He's supposed to have his on as well, and which they did in that case, which is actually what helped tell the story.
Okay. Now, go ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
With your background in law enforcement, now you're a minister of religion.
Yes.
Pastor. How do you see your church community bridging the gap? Now, this is one step coming up this weekend.
Yes.
But what else do you see that your church and other churches, I don't think the churches have to be isolated.
Right.
But as Christian people, what can be done to help to bring more of a close relationship between policing and civilians?
Well, I think one of the things that, and even if we take policing out of the equation, just say how do churches engage with the community, right? I think one of the things we learned, and I've been saying this since I've been here, one of the things we learned during the pandemic was we got evicted from the sanctuaries, right?
Right, yeah.
And so we had to really rethink critically, how do we do church outside of this building,
Okay.
which is what we should have been doing all along. And so it gave us really a moment to pause, and I think I can speak for most pastors across the country. It gave us a moment to really pause and rethink how do we engage with community outside the church in such a way that we're impacting lives for the better, that we help bring people up, right? And so before we can bring
them in, bring them up.
Let's lift them up. Let's help them, because listen, we're in a terrible economy right now, and I know the economy has improved. At least that's what politicians tell us, but we don't feel it yet, right? Unfortunately, and I believe it will get better. But I said all that to say this: families are still struggling. So we have to engage and do things to help them. I'll give a shout out to Magic Johnson's brother, Larry Johnson, the Brotherhood Against Drugs, who this past Saturday just had an amazing event where they gave away shoes and school supplies and free haircuts, and Union partnered with them. And we got out there and we handed out school supplies as well. And that's how you engage with the community. And then, in order to do that and to bridge community together, I think the one of the roles of the church is, if you remember back during the 60s, the church really was the backbone of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, definitely.
Who was the entity that held police accountable, that was the voice to cry out against injustice. And I think today a lot of churches don't really do that because politics, it's uncomfortable, it can be ugly, but we still have to be the voice to hold all other communities accountable, specifically in the face of injustice, right? So if you don't hear a voice crying out anywhere else, it should come from the church. And so by us partnering with police, we already have that relationship with police, so that when these things go down, we already got a foot in the door to help bridge that and to help mitigate that narrative.
Now, we've got about how many churches in Lansing?
I don't know. I remember one year, pretty much every Sunday I went to a different church.
Okay, just to say we got.
So it's over 50.
Over 50?
I think it's around 200.
Huh?
I think it's around 200.
Yeah, they have many more since then. But
200?
Yeah.
It is.
Could be.
We and the reason I know that is we held a couple of weeks ago. We did a church safety seminar.
Okay.
And we sent out information to the local churches. We got a mailing list, and so I know it's around 200 because we sent those out.
Okay. What I want to just ask you. Any of these other churches, will they be at some time doing something like y'all doing at Union?
Well, I can't speak for any other church,
right?
But certainly Union is open to partner with, because I don't think we can be successful if we have the island unto ourselves syndrome, right? And I think we're stronger when we work together.
Yes.
I think we're stronger when we partner together, and I don't care whose name is on it. I don't care about that. Right. But I think as a group of faith-based organizations, I think we can accomplish a whole lot more together than we can do apart. For instance, here's an example. Several churches, including the Brotherhood Against Drugs, have already done backpacks and school supplies giveaway.
Okay, all right.
This church did one. I'm not gonna name the church, but this church did one. That church did one. We actually did one, but we partnered with them. And just several little out. Right. So why won't we just come together, have one big massive day, rent out the Lug Nuck Stadium, and tell the community, come to the stadium.
Yeah.
The faith community, not a particular church, but the faith community has partnered together, and we're going to take care of the entire community rather than you have a little small event, I have a little small event. And that's just one way that I think we could come together and really affect the community as one whole. Because we're way more stronger together than we are.
Yes. But one of the problems you're going to have there, the I factor. I did. You didn't. We succeeded, you didn't. We went above what you did. We had a bigger thing than you. And that factor comes in because you have a lot of professional jealousy going on.
Well,
Even in the ministry.
And I think you may be onto something there, but I also think that the season is changing.
Changing, but we still have.
But you still have it. But
Yes.
I think that I know that I'm one of a handful of new preachers and new pastors who've come here, who's been here less than 5 years, and I'm still meeting. Ironically, I'm still meeting brand new pastors that I've not met before in that 200, right?
Okay.
Because there's so many. But I do think there's an opportunity. I think there's a shifting that has occurred with some of the churches because the times have just changed, right?
Do you think, COVID might have had a part to play in that?
I absolutely believe COVID was the grand teacher. As I said previously, when it evicted us from churches, every church, black, white, large, small, it didn't matter. Every church had to rethink what we're going to do. Now, some churches managed it well, some not so well. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me, but there were a number of churches that closed during the pandemic. Even today, there are a number of churches, without having to pick up my phone, but there's a number of churches who close every week or every month. That's still an effect from COVID, right? It's still happening. Pastors are quitting. Pastors, we lost some pastors in the pandemic. But to your point, it caused us to really rethink church in such a way that partnership makes more sense than isolation or tribalism.
I was reading I think it was last week, where they were saying that a lot of young people have given up on going to church. What do you think might be some of the reasons? I know there's a lot of reasons, so just give us some. Just give us some.
So these youth today are certainly not the youth of my time, right?
Right, my time.
And I don't want to age myself or date myself.
No, don't date yourself with us. We are real old.
So I came through in the 70s, right?
Okay.
And I'm a 70s baby. And of course, even by the time my children got here, which was in the late 90s and early 2000s, there were already 3 decades had already transpired, right? And so mind shifts have changed about church. For instance, we had a new suit every Easter, and you always went to church in a suit and tie, right?
Yeah.
By the time my children got here, those kids were rebelling. Now, we're not, polos and khakis or polos and pants, but they didn't do ties,
right?
And certainly not suits, right? And so just the shifting of time has
Hello,
changed.
Michigan. This is Irvin Magic Johnson. Please bring out your nice classic cars, trucks, and hot rods, and join me on August 24th for the Ingham, Eaton, Clinton Counties Partnership for the Irvin Johnson Senior Community Car and Truck Show. Come and enjoy a great time while also raising money for the Santa First Responders and Michigan Concerns of Police. I look forward to seeing you there. For more information, go to www.umbclansing.org or call 517-485-7705.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?